Your introduction into running, were you always into the mountains, or were you doing a bit of road running?
Yeah, I was born and bred in the Lake District, so I was born in Kendal. My dad was a fell runner, so I was just naturally born into fell running, really. I think I did my first run uphill valley. My dad tells the story, I can't remember it. I was 7 years old, and I almost ran it nearly every little step in little steps all the way to the top of Helvellyn. I think he was very proud of me. And then he just went from there. He had a long career as a fell runner, did a Bob Graham round and stuff like that. So I was just inspired by him. And I live in Keswick now, which is an amazing place to live with all the fells all around me, 360 degrees. My dad still runs, my mum runs, my brother, my wife, my brother's wife. So it's a family of runners and fell runners. We were pretty ingrained in the Procter blood. Really.
How have you seen that grow over the last few years then, around that sort of area, with the Bob Graham and like the Wainwrights coming into the scene now, and all the fell running? Obviously the last year is a bit different, but
massively. It's grown huge. I mean, I can remember from 20, 30 years ago compared to what it is now. Huge difference. I think the numbers of members within the Fell Running Association has grown at a rapid rate as well. You go to races, we used to be able to just turn up at a race, pay your £5 entry fee on the day. Nowadays, it's almost like a race in itself to be online at a certain time to get your entry logged in and make sure that you've got a place on the start line. Such is the popularity of fell running and trail running, to that matter, and ultra running too. More and more people seem to be wanting to move away from your classic road running, marathon running, and experience something off-road, get onto the trails, get into the mountains, get into the fells, have that sense of adventure. And I don't blame them. It's the best for off-road running, trail running, mountain running, fell running, best thing in the world.
Yeah, there was a huge thing about 10, 15 years ago about a marathon, wasn't there? Like, a marathon was such a big thing. And now, like, there's 40,000 people running the marathon now. You get the world majors. And once you've done it, they've done it. And everyone's looking for the next big challenge. Like, and everybody's getting inspired by each other as well, aren't they? Like, people are saying, like the Bob Graham round, we have a round over here called the Dennis Rankin round as well. People need to start talking about the Dennis Rankin when they're talking about the other three rounds. But, there's so much exposure on social media and things like that it's opening people's awareness to what's really there. There's a great Bob Graham video came on there a couple of weeks ago as well by Christina. We actually had her on the podcast. So it's not just local, it's right across Europe, and people want to come. And we had Killian, obviously. It doesn't get any bigger than that, does it?
No, yeah. I mean, look, Killian's brought a new dimension to the Bob Graham rounds. My dad knows Billy Bland. Most of the people where I live know Billy Bland. He's an absolute legend here. And, we all thought his time was untouchable, and it was for many, many years. But, we did see some runners get close, and it just, it took Killian coming over to really, take it to that next level. And I sit here and I say, I can't see anyone beating Killian's time now, but, there will be another Killian. There will be, there's some super talented boys in the Lake District, in Northern England, who could possibly run it close in the right conditions with the right support team.
So you've done the Bob Graham yourself?
I've done the Bob Graham round, yeah. So my dad did it years and years ago, and I remember watching him doing it, and just been like, wow, this is amazing. And then I helped lots of friends do theirs over the years. So I've been around all the legs. I've walked and run all the Wainwrights many, many times. So I was just like, it was a natural progression to try and do the Bob Graham. The problem was that I was brought up on a sort of diet of racing short fell races and medium length ones. So to progress I'd never run a marathon before I did the Bob Graham round. I'd never done anything of a long distance really. So, but I'd spent so much time in the fells and knew so many people who were just saying, come on, Lee, when you're doing it, that I just felt I had to. And yeah, I still say, like, it's one of the best days of my life, definitely. When you do something, a challenge like that, and you're able to get your friends and family around you to do it. I know it seems really strange in these times to be saying this, but that sense of camaraderie and that that dependence on those people to get you around. I know some of these top lads can go around and do it solo, but I've not got that ability, unfortunately. And I wouldn't have got around it without those people, their support to do it. And, I look back on it and, some of my closest friends were involved, and it's, some of my best memories in running.
It's quite unique though, isn't it? Like that camaraderie that we have in the fells, and that sense of community. It was Christine Madison, I was trying to remember her second name there, and we released the video the other day, and that was one thing, that really touched her in doing the Bob Graham, was how much support that she got across the fells. And it's unique, you don't really get that across anywhere in Europe, and it's something special that we have here, I think. Yeah,
I think so. I think you could say that about all forms of off-road running. People, you still see it at finish lines. I love this, that the majority of people who will do a fell running race, a mountain running race, or a trail running race, they will ask you how your race went before they tell you how their race went. And I love that. I'm the same. I will go and ask somebody, I'll say, how did you get on? How did you do? Rather than go up to someone and go, did you know that I ran blah, blah, blah? And I love that about the type of people who take part in off-road running. I think it's brilliant.
You mentioned Billy Brand. I think it was his birthday yesterday. I'm not sure. Was he 85 years of age?
And then that's Josh Naylor, I think.
Oh, it was. I got confused. Sorry. There's an edit. That's great. I love editing. But there's something about like when Killian beat Billy's time, we had George Foster come onto the scene at the end of last year. Yeah. And it is almost that breaking that 4-minute mile sort of thing. People thought Billy's time would never get beaten. 36 years his record held for, and then Killian came along. And where the hell did George Foster come from then? It was boom. Our last week's guest actually was Martin Cox, who was George's coach. And we're almost moving into this new era, aren't we? Of PRs and PBs. You've got Damien Hall as well, who's a great ambassador for Inov-8, and there's no doubt about that. But the likes of John Kelly as well, and these people sort of coming in, and they're just totally rewriting the whole rule books. The records are getting broken left, right, and centre. But it is inspiring a new generation of people, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and it's giving everyone that opportunity to push their own boundaries. We hadn't things about fastest known times. 10 years ago wasn't even on the scene, was it? We just, you raced and that was it. I think the advent of fastest known times and has given people an opportunity to go and explore and adventure and seek new things to do. You look at someone we talk about Damien Hall a lot, obviously, because he's an Inov-8 ambassador, but he inspires so many people by what he's doing. People of all abilities. And I've helped him on a few of his challenges now, and that the Pennine Way one in particular was incredible. The way that he pushes his body through tiredness, and that ability to keep going when your body's saying to you, I've had enough here. And the mental strength that requires is really special. And he's such a humble guy with it all. He knows that he couldn't have done it again without his support team. Every time you talk to him, it's about the team that supported him, and quite rightly as well. And these people are doing incredible things, and you look forward to this year, and you wonder what's next. There's, who's got what planned. It's all a bit of a secret at this stage. Who's going to be doing what? There's a few whispers out there, but it's going to be. I think it's going to be an exciting summer, seeing what people are challenging themselves with.
But you also have Nikki Spinks, and that was a great video that we see the way I said that there, that we released, the Inov-8 released on the Barclay. Such a build-up. I was one of those people waiting for that release live on Facebook. Was it Facebook? Oh, sorry, live on YouTube.
Is that? Yeah.
I suppose it must be amazing working with all of these people on these adventures, if you like.
Yeah, and we, as a brand, we work with people who, share the same values that we do. And we build relationships with these ambassadors and athletes. Carefully nurture them. It's we're not a brand who have lots of money who will go out and splash cash on big name athletes. We've not got that kind of resource. But what we do have is an inbuilt sort of family community within our ambassadors. If you're an ambassador for Inov-8, you will be well looked after. You will feel part of the Inov-8 family. We bring them into everything from product development into marketing. The help that they give us all is brilliant, and they inspire us all as well. Everyone who works for Inov-8, we're all inspired by people like Nikki, by Damien, by Jasmine Paris. Look at what she did in the spine race in 2019 when she won the race out, first woman to win the race outright, and smashed the record. And I know Jasmine quite well. I've known her for a lot of years, and I'm inspired by Jasmine. She's incredible, and I love her attitude to run into life. Doesn't take things too seriously, and I really like that. Yeah, great people.
They're all very humble. To work with them. They're all very humble people, aren't they?
They are.
It sort of comes with that sort of mountain running scene. So, is it Bo? Is that right to pronounce it, Bo or Bodhi?
Yeah, Bo is fine. My full name's Bodil, but most people just call me Bo.
So we better talk about. I'm going to test you now on how how Inov-8 was created and how it was, because it's not that old of a company, really, is it? It's 2003. It was sort of established. 17
years old, so yeah, not fairly new in terms of the running shoe market, definitely.
So talk to me a bit about the founder.
About Wayne.
About Wayne. How did he start Inov-8 up? Like, how did that happen?
Wayne spoke a lot to the grassroots community, and he found that there wasn't really a good grippy shoe for running on the fells with, and he believed in the shoes so honestly believed in the shoes that he bought a whole container full of the ones that he designed, or Graham designed the first time. So Graham is his first employee, the footwear designer that still works for us. That he bought a whole container of shoes out of his own pocket and then started selling them on fell races.
That's class, isn't it? Doesn't get any better than that.
That's typical Inov-8, to be honest.
But it's growing exponentially, though, isn't it? Inov-8. All of my kit is Inov-8, and there's a reason for that, because we live in the UK and Ireland. So that's one specific area that Inov-8 really focus on. And to your point, when we run up and down fells or cross trails, it's very difficult because people ask me, what type of shoe do you wear? That's a very difficult question to answer. What shoe do you wear?
Depends on the weather and on the route and what you feel like. Are you a bit tired? Are you springy? I mean, so many different shoes you could be wearing.
You got wide feet, flat feet, high arch feet, and it is a very difficult question to answer. So there is no real one shoe. There's a couple of different shoes that you should have in your arsenal, really. But the reason why I've got so much Inov-8 stuff is because it suits our terrain so much, and you can tell that's where Inov-8 really focus on, especially being based in the Lakeland district. So what is your part to play in Inov-8? How do you sort of twine in with the fabric?
So I've got a PhD in sports engineering, specifically looking at studded footwear. So my background is really around grip. And that's when I joined the company. I've been working on the outsoles first and foremost, which is making it specific to the terrain and perfect for the runner. Like you say, they're in the UK, in Ireland, but actually across the world, there's so many different terrains you're going to encounter. And for each terrain, actually a different shoe would be ideal. And I think the great thing about living in the Lake District and having that as our test ground is that we have a lot of the extremes. So we have the really muddy, boggy, grassy slopes. We have hard, rocky terrain. We have slippery, rocky terrain. We have gravel. We have road. We've got grass, forest trails. So you got a really wide range of testing grounds. And I think that's why, Inov-8's become so famous for its grip.
Yeah, hence get a grip. Lee, have you been told to get a grip a few times?
Just a few. And it's fair to say, I think if I had £1 for every time I'd wrote the hashtag get a grip, I think I'd be a millionaire, I think. But Bodil didn't mention there is that we sometimes call her Dr. Grip.
Damien calls me Dr. Grip.
Damien does call you Dr. Grip.
But it's a huge thing, though, isn't it? And we shouldn't underestimate what grip actually means, because I was wearing soft trail shoes that we have our Hill and Dales races here, which go up and down the fells. And I could launch myself up, see coming down, like it was like Bambi coming down, because I used to think it was me, until I got a pair of mud claws, the G270s, and it just totally changes your mindset then, because the amount of grip and confidence that your shoe gets, it allows you then to flow down the fells, and that's the difference in a good shoe based on the terrain. If you have that confidence in your footwear, then it totally changes how you're descending those fells. It makes a huge difference when you're racing.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. So good grip gives you confidence, and that confidence can either translate into performance, so you run faster, but it can also translate into lesser risk of injury because you're not so tensed up when you're going downhill. If you've got better grip, you're not going to slide and pull that groin muscle or whatever is going on there. So, I mean, it's got like multiple assets to why that grip is so important to the runner.
Yeah, so the mud claws, they're night and day from the other shoes that I was wearing. So when you're going down a real boggy fell, like a 45-degree angle, it amazes me how much grip they give you and how much confidence. The graphene obviously has played a big part to that. Talk to me about the graphene and what that actually was, because that's unique to Inov-8, isn't it?
Yeah, so it is unique to Inov-8. We're the only sportswear brand that uses it in footwear. And what it does to the shoes, basically, we used to have a dilemma whether or not we're going to put a soft and sticky rubber on and the outsoles wouldn't last very long, or whether we were going to put harder rubber on and the outsoles would last long, but that harder rubber was going to be quite slippery, especially on rock. So what the graphene does, it's almost like a bit of a fairy dust. It's a very tiny amount because it's a really, really thin one molecule layer of material that you add to the rubber, and it makes it a lot more durable, which means that you can have more grip and more durability in the same shoe, and you don't have to choose anymore. Or as Lee would say, it's no compromise.
So Lee, how long's that been involved in? It was like the last 3 or 4 years.
We first launched graphene in shoes in the summer of 2018. We launched it on 2 shoes called the Terraultra G270 and the Mudclaw G260. And yeah, it's really shifted us through the gears pretty quickly. Graphene footwear, which now across, I would say around 50% of our footwear range. Bodil might correct me on that slightly. That's a bit of an estimate. But it's been a huge success for us. And because we are the only brand in the world to use graphene, it's given us a real point of difference as well over everybody else. There was other brands looking at using it, but with Inov-8 being quite an agile brand, able to move quite quickly, we teamed up with the University of Manchester, which is where the National Graphene Institute is. And so we were able to work with the world-leading scientists in graphene at the university to develop this new rubber. And we did it from first idea to putting the shoes on sale in 18 months. Usually something like that would take a brand where there's lots of red, there's lots of ribbon to get through and lots of processes to go through. That would take multiple years. So to do it in 18 months is, a testament to the people at Inov-8 and at the university really in getting that out so quickly. And since then it's it's exploded for us. We've got it across shoes that you would class for fell running and for mountain running, and shoes that you would class for trail running. And the most popular one is the Terraultra G270, which is the evolution of what the original launch shoe, the 260. And we launched that in, I can't remember the month, but it was last year. And sales of that have absolutely flown. It's our bestseller. It's appealing to people all over the world. We're getting new users to Inov-8, reaching new people that never tried Inov-8 before. And it's taken us beyond that. A lot of people in the UK will see Inov-8 perhaps as a fell running brand, whereas we're now in 60 countries and we're right across trail running in all those countries. And the Terraultra G270 is leading the way for us. It's just won 4 Trail Running Shoe of the Year awards for 2020, including Runner's World. And for a brand like Inov-8, when you're going up against your Adidas's, your Nikes, your Salomons, huge brands with huge resources, and we're kicking some serious ass.
I have to say, I was going to come on to the Terraultras in a while, so I got my pair last week, and I've done about 10,000 feet this week in them. So I have.
Wow, that was quick.
I always struggled because I am an ultra runner, likes of 100k sort of races, and I always struggled between finding. I never thought there's that place in the middle between a sort of a fell run and a softer plush sort of shoe that you can wear, so you've still got the comfort. So the mud claws, for example, I love them on fast, shorter sort of hill and dales, 5 or 6 miles max sort of races, that aren't going on to too hard of a trail because they're quite hard. They're designed for the fells and the grip. So then, to get an ultra shoe, I had to go for something different. You have nailed it with the Terraultras. There's that place in the middle that is really, it's caught that spot. And I've had the shoes a week, and already they're my favorite shoe to put on. 10,000 feet. Today I've done 3,500 feet in 4.5 miles. So it's quite stiff, technical terrain, and even through the snow and things like that. There's no slippage in them, and the comfort. I'm the best person to test them because I had surgery in both my feet over the last 3 or 4 months. So I've got very tender feet. And to find something straight off the bat that are so comfortable yet have such a good grip, there was always that place in the middle. I think it's nailed it. It's been bang on the money. I paused there because I used to be a quality manager in the aerospace industry. It was like the A350 sort of nailed it. There was that spot in the middle. That's a terrible comparison. I was pausing don't say it, Robbie.
You can do that. You can link into flying.
Are you meaning you only need 1 pair of running shoes now?
You just put yourself out of the market, didn't you? But the Terraultra really has found a sweet spot. There you go. That's the way to describe it, I suppose. Now, I still have to go the long distance on it. I'm planning on doing something around 26 miles this weekend to see how they fare out in that. But you've got that plush feeling and that grip and the way it sort of fits. I'm such a difficult person to find a shoe to fit. So
that's good.
Well done.
That's good that it's working for you. Then that's fantastic. I mean, we're hearing that and hearing the same from a lot of people, and a lot of people like yourself. It sounds like are quite surprised. The Terraultra G270 is a trail running shoe. It's not a shoe designed for muddy fells. It's designed for hard packed trails. But what you'll find is that the way that the lugs have been arranged, the length of them, the rubber that's used, the whole design of the out, it grips on more things than you think. And suddenly you're on a muddy section or you're on some really wet rocks on a mountain and you're like, wow, damn, this thing's amazing. It works here as well. So yeah, it's for many people, it's becoming a bit of an all-rounder. I'll tell you what else it works well on, the road. I ran a 5k PB in them the other week. I was like, yes,
showing off.
Get in. Yeah, no, true.
It's what you need for an ultra running shoe, though, because there's many ultras which finish with a 5 or a 10k section on the road, and you're going to be running in the hills. You're going to be running across rock, trail, fell, all kinds of terrain. So if you want a long distance running shoe, you kind of have to have that versatile grip.
Yeah, one thing that sort of surprised me. I'd actually lost the connection between my foot and the ground because I had such sensitive feet. I was going for quite thick sole shoes to give me that padding. And today, when I was coming down this fell, I was thinking to myself, like, you really can feel the ground under your feet and you still maintain the comfort. I think that's unique. The shoe's very light and it allows you then to move faster over the terrain. And I think we talked about confidence earlier on. You get more and more confidence because you can actually feel the ground underneath your feet as well, but you're still maintaining that comfort.
Yeah, it's always tricky to find that balance between ground feel but not pain for people. So we do a lot of testing in our footwear in order to make sure that we have the right midsole compound, have the right thickness, give the right protection for the intended use of the shoe as well, to give that sort of flexibility in the foot and the ability to feel the ground, because you get a lot of confidence from it. You actually get better grip from it. You can locally adapt to the terrain. Your foot moves and works with the terrain, which especially on uneven terrain is really important. But then at the same time, we also want to protect the foot. You don't want any like branches or stones stabbing into your foot and it being painful. So yeah, we always try and find a balance between those two.
There's a lot of other shoes in the market that you can wear that a lot thicker, and you lose that nimbleness, that agility underfoot to really work with the terrain when you're running. And like Bodil's exactly right. You want to be able to go with the terrain, but obviously have that protection and comfort underfoot as well. And the shoe that we're talking about has really nailed that, I think.
What was your 5K PB, Lee?
It's not particularly great. Well, everything's relative, obviously, isn't it? Yeah. It's I like to say that I've got old man's fell running legs, so they're a bit bow-legged and a bit.
Talk about the excuses. I only asked a question.
Just say it. 1737, I think it was.
Listen, I was really proud of my 1908. Come on. So tell me.
Well, thing is, though, I live in Keswick, and it's like a who's who of fell and trail running in the UK here. It seems like everybody is now wanting to move and live in Keswick, and you go for a group training session, and I get beasted. I get left for dust. So it's all relative, isn't it?
So tell me about introducing a shoe like the Terraultra. It was G270 first. What was that like? To work for a company like Inov-8, to come up with this innovative shoe, and going through that whole design and that 18 months of hard work, I suppose. How did that feel when that first went out to the public? Is it nerves, excitement, everything?
Do you want me to do this, Bo?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it is. We do a lot of testing and obviously a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that we're putting out something that we're super proud of, because we're hanging our name from it. So we are confident in what we're putting out, and we've had people around the world testing the product to make sure it's right. But obviously you never know what the end consumers are going to think about it. So there's always an element of anticipation, but it's excitement more than anything. As we talked about, the first was 18 months. I think in 18 months is probably a fair period for a lot of our footwear, from design to end product. It's 18 months of build up. So to finally see it out is amazing. And then what's best is when you see the footprint in the mud or in the trail or in the snow, and you're like, I know exactly what shoe that is. And it's that shoe that you've been, working on for 18 months. There's no better feeling than knowing that people are out there wearing it. It's the same as when you run past someone who's wearing it, you'll almost like give them a little, like your shoes. Yeah, nice one. And it's easy. You feel proud about it. And Bo will probably say the same, I guess.
Yeah. What about?
Definitely.
Yeah. A good question for you then, Bo. When you've got a good shoe like the 260, and because this is always a pain when shoes change from year to year. you know, and like I've had a lot of road running shoes and they nail it. And then next year they come out and they're like, what have they done? Like, you know, you had a great shoe and then you might buy about 6 pairs if you're lucky. You know, you see the last year's shoe pop up. Because it must be quite a challenge for a designer to improve on something like the 280s or whatever the number is going to be. You know, it's a very delicate process, I suppose, that you don't lose what you've got, but yet still keep up with the times and improve slightly.
Definitely. I think designing a completely new shoe like the Terraultra G270 was totally new. It almost has a lot less pressure, even though it's a lot more work. And then when you go and have a bestseller and you try and improve it, you almost stifle yourself because you're like, I don't want to change anything that makes people love the shoe. So for me, launching the Terraultra G270, it came with a lot of apprehension. I was like, they better like this because otherwise I'm gonna be in trouble.
So how does that feel then, getting that positive feedback? You know, especially like sort of.
Oh, it feels really, really good. It's really weird though because you've been working on a shoe for that long. By the time that you give it to the factory and to the sales team, and you're never going to touch it anymore. Like from that moment onwards, it's like another 9 months or something like that until it's in the stores. So for me, the shoe is already old by the time it gets launched. And often I get to wear like an early sample. I mean, that's the perks of the job. So I've been running in that shoe for like 6 or 9 months by that point. and then it gets launched and then I forget that it's new to everyone else.
Yeah, cause it's hard because Bodil probably works. You'll be able to explain Bodil, but you know, Bodil works many seasons in advance. What are you working on at the moment?
I'm working on late 2022 now, and I'm starting to think about 2023 at the moment. But anything that's 2021, I know that's just started. For me, that's done and dusted and old news.
Which is incredible because obviously I'm still working 2020 into 2021 now. So, you know, we're almost working on different timescales. And it's really interesting, that dynamic of being in a business that works like that.
How do you get Sorry, go ahead.
I do like our attitude in the business that we only want to update if it's a technical update, if you get what I mean, if it's like a physical improvement. A lot of road running shoes, they launch a new version every year just to get the sort of newness buzz. It's almost like a little adrenaline hit that you get from launching a new shoe. So, you know, like from what we've done in Inov-8 is we don't want to get rid of shoes that people love. Some shoes will be in for like the last like 8 years with barely any changes except for some minor tweaks. But then others, you know, we do update and change for usually reasons of feedback, or you know, there's better materials available, more durable materials available, so we continuously innovate in that as well.
Lee, is there anything that the design team do that really annoy you? This is your chance. This is what this is all about, by the way. He told me to ask that question.
Is that because I told you to gossip about Lee at the start?
I wouldn't throw that at you. I won't throw that at you. Lee, what's your favourite piece of Inov-8 kit?
It's probably I mean, I do love some of our clothing because it fits me. I wear a small in the men's, and I really like it's an athletic fit, but not a skin tight fit, if you know what I mean. It's that nice cut where it's not flappy and baggy in the wind, but at the same time, it's not making you like we call it tight top Terry, you know, someone with the pecs sticking out, and you know, it's not like that. So
we haven't moved to Lycra yet.
No, exactly. So my cupboard is full of the Base Elite tees and the Storm Shell jackets. I absolutely love both of those. But I'd probably still say my favourite product is the Cross Talon 212 running shoe, which has been in the range for, easily more than a decade. It's an absolute Inov-8 classic. I've grown up wearing that shoe. I wore it for the Bob Graham round, and it just does everything that I love in the fells. Gives me really, it's got really aggressive grip on the bottom for muddy ground, and I find it super comfortable with that nice ground feel in there as well. So At the moment, I'm switching between the two. If I go muddy, if you're going to muddy trails or muddy fells, I'll wear the Cross Tollon 212. But if I'm going to go onto harder ground, or trails, or even the road, then I'll wear the Terraultra G270. And I'm only really alternating between those two shoes.
It does seem that you've really exploded on the clothing aspect the last couple of years. I have, I'm a real Inov-8 tart, so I apologise for that. But I've got the
don't apologise.
I've got the elite leggings. I've got the mid layer. I've actually got two of the mid layers, and I've got the thermo coat,
shell.
and I've got the soft shell jacket as well. But they just all make me look good as well as working well in the mountains as well. Just to the points you were making there, and you could tell it's really grown in that direction, especially even with the hiking kits and things like that. I don't know if you can see behind me there. I've actually got product placement going on. I've got
very nice.
I've got 7 35-litre Inov-8 rucksacks there. And you wonder why I've got 7. I'm a mountain guide, by the way.
Yeah.
So
right, okay.
I'm a mountain guide, and I do wild hiking tours through the Mons. So I use a lot of the Inov-8 gear for that. But I get a lot of questions, what sort of trail shoe, for mountain walkers and things like that. And a couple of months ago, I got myself my first pair of Rocklite GTX boots. And again, bang, it just blew my mind on how great you can just walk through those bogs and keeps your feet dry. Now, they slip in the snow, but hence I put that's what gaiters are for. There's no real good shoes on the snow and the ice, especially when it's packed down below. But it's one shoe that I recommend to a lot of people that are hiking. So Inov-8 are really branching out into that world as well, aren't they?
Yeah, we call it fast hike, and it's I don't have the exact numbers, but globally it is a sport or pastime that is massively on the increase. This desire of people to go out and hike, but also that the advent of Strava's brought this on as well. That idea of hiking fast. You can hike now and log your hikes on Strava and see your segment result, just as runners and cyclists do. And that is growing, and people want to push themselves. It's a bit like the ultra running again. People want to go and walk further than they have done before. They want to go and walk up steeper mountains than they have done before, but they want to do it with an element of speed as well. And our Rocklite boots absolutely bang on the money for those. They're a perfect fast hike sort of product. We had a guy called James Forrest, who's an Inov-8 ambassador. So he went and walked or hiked all the Wainwrights, all 214 Wainwright peaks in the Lake District in the summer. He did it solo and unsupported with a huge rucksack on his back, and he camped. He slept overnight in his tent or in a cave. I think he slept in a barn one night. And he did it in, I think it was about 14 days, maybe just under. James did it in, and he wore one pair of Rocklite boots for that whole thing, and that's what we're getting to. People who want to really push themselves. It's all relative, of course. Everyone has different, what's fast for one hiker is not for another, and they want to go at a different speed. But we're finding that our boots are just ticking so many boxes for people. It's really positive market for us at the moment.
Yeah, I was laughing when you were saying fast hiking there, because that's my ultra running. There's a very fine line between ultra running and fast hiking. I've actually been in a race where there was a guy fast hiking in front of me, and could I catch him? And I'm running. But some of those guys some of them guys are flying. They call themselves fast hikers. But it's great to see that range coming out with Inov-8. Sometimes been criticised, I think, across Europe, for the shoes and we talked about the Inov-8 gear and how good they'd been. It's specific for sort of the UK and Ireland. And sometimes during the European mountain races, they get criticised. But I think that's something that Inov-8 has focused on and taken on, and sort of moved into that. It's because of the terrain, obviously. It's not because of anything else other than, you've got the likes of the UTMB and you've got a 5-mile downhill soft trail. It's just totally different than what we're seeing in the Lake District.
Yeah, but I would push back and say that we do have the footwear for all types of trails that you would encounter in Europe. We have shoes specifically. We have a shoe called the Trail Rock, which has a rock plate in it. So if somebody's running over really rocky, in the Dolomites or somewhere like that, where the ground's really, the rocks are really quite sharp, we have something there for people who want that extra underfoot protection. But, we keep coming back to this shoe, but the Terraultra G270 does the lot. If I was running if I was going to run a VK in Chamonix and Dolomites, wherever, I would wear that shoe. Equally, I would wear it if I was doing the Dolomites Sky Race, which I've done before. I would now wear the Terraultra G270. That shoe ticks a lot of boxes. We just need more people to learn about it. It's really hard in a market where there's so many brands making so much noise. We're growing and we're doing that, but it's going to be a progression, and we're winning over people week by week, and we'll get there. We just need more people to realise just how good our shoes are.
Yeah, but you are starting to see it more and more at the starting line. To your point, and unfortunately you've come through. We're introducing an amazing shoe at a very difficult time with the COVID situation and races cancelled. How have you found that affecting Inov-8?
I mean, as a business, it's obviously been tough, as for everyone. We've stood really strong. It's been resolute to the people that work for Inov-8. I think that we've been able to do that. We've had to adapt and be agile in how we work as a business. People have taken on extra roles or maneuvered their workloads around to fit things in. And as a company, we've actually had 2020 was a strong year. When COVID first came about, and we really worried. A lot of the stores were closing and have been closed for a large amount of time. And there was a lot of concern. But as a business, we've adapted, and 2020 was a really strong year for us. People might think that we took brands would have taken a huge hit, but it's not the case. You've seen brands adapt and change to the way that life is now. And the advent of people wanting to get outside now is more and more. You're seeing more and more people wanting to get exercise, walking, hiking, running. Popularity in those areas is booming. So we're there as a provider of the footwear, of the clothing that you need to go and do those things, and people are coming to us to buy what they want to go outside and exercise. And I
think it's actually 2021. As soon as these lockdowns lift, is going to be huge. 2021, 22, 23 for Inov-8. I would guesstimate there's about 20 times more people in the mountains today than there was 18 months ago because of people not traveling. It's the reason why I've just left the corporate world behind and gone full-time mountain guide, because we live here. We've got the beautiful Mourne Mountains here. And there is literally about 20 times the amount of people in the mountains now. And I always say luck is preparation meeting opportunity. And Inov-8 is almost that. We've got an excellent brand with this huge, you're going to really see it unfold when this lockdown lifts, and there's more and more people now understand and appreciate what we've got here. And I think I've sold 6 pairs of rock lights this week alone. People asking me, what shoes should I wear? What shoes should I wear? And because it's easy, they're easy recommendations because they are so specific to these type of trails and mountains, which is great. Bodil, what's your favorite piece of kit apart from that coat you're wearing? Ooh.
Oh, this coat is always keeping me warm. I'm working from home, definitely. In clothing, I think it's our base layers. They're made from a recycled yarn, so recycled plastic yarn, and they're just so thin and so breathable. As an ultra runner myself, I always want my shoulders covered and not wear a vest top because I'm wearing a backpack. And finding a t-shirt that in summer keeps me cool enough. And then we also have a long sleeve, and I just wear it every single run in winter.
I've got my base layers on the whole time, whether I'm running or not. It's just such a bloody cold winter. Like, what about shoes then?
Oh, at the moment in winter, I wear the Terraultra 260 the most. I've got a fairly wide forefoot, and I just really like the wiggle space for my toes. Again, I'm almost the opposite of Lee. I'm a long distance runner, and I just really want comfort over, performance almost. Yeah. So I don't need a tight fitting shoe. I want something with like, a space for my feet to swell, and something that I can wear over 30 to 50 miles, which is usually my distance.
What
and then
type...
in summer,
Go ahead,
in summer it'd be the Terraultra, obviously.
Yeah, we're going to call this podcast the Terraultra. I think we've done a great job. But the shoe is an amazing shoe, though. It's people will. Well, I suppose people just need to go out and buy the shoe, don't they, and try it. When you've talked about ultras there, what type of races have you done?
I did a Dragon's Back in 2019.
Wow.
And generally I just like going on multi-day travel. So I ran across Albania, Macedonia and northern Greece on a trans-Balkan run. Last Christmas. Did West Highland Way last August, just as a nice weekend dander, obviously, since we can't travel abroad.
But the Dragon's Back is pretty unique. Like they've added an extra day this year, so it's 380 kilometers.
They have. It just means you got to go back and do it again, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think they've made the right.
I think that's why they've done it.
We actually had Steve Birkinshaw on the podcast last week, who obviously is a legend on that type of distance, who won the 2012 sort of Dragon's Back. But it's pure pain. So what is it draws you to ultra running?
Well, I'm originally from the Netherlands, which is probably the flattest country in Europe or even the world. And I wasn't really into running at all. But when I moved to the UK, which was 7.5 years ago, I lived in right next to the Peak District. And I was like, it's really nice walking in all these hills. And then there was this, there were these crazy people who thought that you could also run up them. And I was like, well, that sounds fun. I can actually do that by myself when I didn't know that many people yet. And I can get to all of these hilltops a lot quicker. So I started trail running and met just loads of people and made lots of friends, and naturally progressed into ultras because I kept on challenging myself to go a bit further. But I literally started doing 1 to 2 miles. And I thought that was really far. Yeah,
lamppost to lamppost, it's called.
Yeah, I
know.
Like,
I actually made it to different lampposts. So how is it for a designer then when you're out running? Like, does the pieces of kit annoy you? It's like, they should be doing this.
Oh, definitely. If there's only a single thread going loose, I'm messaging our clothing designer straight away. So I think it's sometimes tricky because you never really switch off from work. I even when I did Dragon's Back, I had a lot of other runners that you get chatting to, and it's long days in the hills, and then they would have heard that I was working for Inov-8 as the footwear product manager, and then they started talking to me about what their ideal footwear was, and I sometimes had to say guys, I'm on a week of annual leave.
Yeah.
Can I just have some peace and quiet?
It's a strange.
But no, it's great doing what you really love, and I'm very passionate about it. But I'm also very critical, and I would always want to know and listen to every runner and think about what I could improve in the next version of that product, which is the tiring bit when you're also running 70k a day and not sleeping very much at night.
Yeah, no, and I totally relate to that as well. There was totally moving into sort of more mountain adventures. There was a film on the More Mountains last night. My wife was like, "Oh, More Mountains are on TV." I'm like, "It's the last thing I want to watch on TV right now," because you consume yourself with it, don't you? Because it's your hobby and it's your work. But it must be a real benefit because the whole Inov-8 team really are. They're all runners and mountain runners, so they can really associate with the product that they're trying to design and bring to market.
Definitely, and I think it's actually really useful that I went from being that one mile runner all the way down to Dragon's Back Ultra, because I really remember what it was like to start out, what I wanted from my footwear, and how difficult it was to start choosing my first trail running shoe. How long I stuck with the same shoe, which was totally wrong for my foot in the end. So I think it's important to draw from your own experience, but also to keep going to events. Like we often go to the UTMB, keep listening to runners, make sure you interact on a personal level. I come myself to quite a lot of our events. That's not just our marketing teams. We all take each other's jobs. I help with customer service inquiries if necessary. We're all really one team, and that means that you're always really close to the end user of our products.
It must be a weird experience for you walking around the market stalls in Chamonix, taking a look at all of the product on all the different shelves. You must be in a totally different mindset than everybody else. You're looking at the design.
Oh, yes. I'm like, ooh, what are you doing? What's your newest, latest colors? And what's your last invention? Taking photos and everything. And then they're like, oh, do you want to buy it? I'm like, no, I'm fine.
That's brilliant. For the rest of the year, then, have we anything from... Oh, sorry, one thing I don't want to go past, I suppose, is the sustainability. I got scorned the other day about putting up my crampons. I put up I'm actually going to edit that. But I put a video of me going up and down the fell on a pair of crampons. But one thing, it's not just about your foot and, the performance of the shoe and how comfortable it is. It's also about the footprint as well, isn't it? And trying to protect the environment. And there's a big part of sustainability that Inov-8 are trying to bring along with their product.
Definitely. I've been very heavily involved with our sustainability strategy, and one of the things that I can't stress enough is how many different angles there are to this. It's carbon emissions, it's water usage, it's how you ship things, it's how you package things, it's waste, it's durability, it's everything, that all the materials you put in. And quite often when you're trying to be better in one area, you're inadvertently worse in another. And we've also been working with a sustainability expert to help us balance the scales there. And I think that's really important. I come from a scientific background, and I always want to make sure that we got all of the numbers behind all the decisions that we make. And I think this insecurity of not knowing what the knock-on effect is from one to the other is quite difficult. But we've got a really clear strategy now where we're focusing on durability first, because in the end, if you make less shoes, then you use less water, you use less carbon, you use less resources on the planet. So we want the shoes to last longer for our hikers, runners and CrossFitters. Then secondly, look at using materials that have lesser impact on the planet, but only if they do last longer. Yeah. If you get what I mean. Because otherwise I'm trying to do something that in the end it's just pointless. I can make a sustainable shoe, but that shoe still needs to be packaged and shipped and colored and everything. So durability first, then impact on materials, but also looking at our societal impact. Where do we source? How do we treat the people in our own environment? We're doing things like waste into well-being, where, during work time, I'm helping out on a food bank in our local area. I've signed up to be a volunteer vaccinator to help us out with this pandemic mess a little bit quicker. And, just trying to do the right thing, however small steps we take. I think that's really, really important for Inov-8. We might not have a massive spend, and we might not be able to change the way that recycling schemes in countries work, but we can make adjustments to ensure that, we set ourselves up well for the future.
I think it's very important, when it comes, you're putting that type of energy into the product, it comes through in the end result as well. And I think that it is, especially with the fell running community, see the old hands and the mountain runners as well. They're hard to listen to, some of them, but it's important to protect the environment. Obviously, it's why we're there, because we love it that much, and the headspace that it gives you, and running across a fell, you know, at the edge of dark and the sun's just setting, you know, it's very important to protect that environment. I think it's very important what Inov-8 do, you know, focusing on that and making sure that's part of the vision and the strategy. Have you got any new and exciting products in the pipeline? Obviously there is, but if you can tell us about one to look forward to that you're excited about?
I'm most excited about the shoe that we're launching in the next 2 months, because it's a really big innovation story. One of the first ones where I've really worked from start to end on the product and gotten a patent application in and everything. And, you know, as a sports engineer, this is like what I live and breathe for. So, you know, I'm really, really excited about that product, but I will hand over to Lee to say what we actually can say about it.
I'm just sat there thinking, Bodil, please don't say too much here. No, it's hard because we've got a new shoe, a trail running shoe set to launch end of March, start of April, and it's got a brand new innovation in it, something that no one else is doing or has done. We're taking a different slant on things from a lot of other brands, who are, you know, a lot of them are doing the same sort of thing in 2021. We're going to be doing something very different, and it's really exciting.
Is it a wheelie shoe? So you could just sort of...
A wheelie shoe.
The wheelie shoes are the one with the wee wheel in the back. So when you're going down hills, you can just go on the back of the shoes and...
and it lights up. And it lights up when you run and things like that, yeah.
Well, basically, it's a backpack with a paraglide in it. I've always wanted that. I just like running uphill. I don't like running down. So backpack with paraglide would be great.
So that's coming out in March and April anyway. And
we're looking forward to showing the world that... we really feel like with the Terraultra G270, this is the next step as to where we're going, and it's really exciting. I wish I could say more, but I'm under strict rules.
But don't worry, we'll carry over the Terraultra 270. We won't get rid of it.
Oh, of course, that's remaining in the range. We definitely won't be doing away with that. But yeah, the new shoe is something really different. I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people as well, which I'm really looking forward to seeing people's reaction to when they see it. So it's going to be fun times.
Excellent. Lee, Bodil, it's a pleasure today. I know we've only had you for a short time, for an hour, so but I really appreciate it. The G270s, I think we've talked about those, the Terraultras. I do think that is a shoe, you know, being an ultra runner myself around that 100k sort of distance over mountains, and being able to cross over so many different terrains and still maintain that comfort and that feel. It is already my favourite shoe that I've got, and I have a number of shoes on the rack. It's been a real pleasure. I think what we'll do is we'll tie up again when this new shoe comes out. It'd be great to get that out. Guys, thanks very much. Appreciate it. I'm actually going to wrap this up. I'm not going to edit it, so I fumbled through some of that. I'm just going to post it up, so I'm going to put it up this evening.
Okay.
All right, sounds great.
Yeah, maybe not the bit at the start though, where I was asking about if I fit in the screen or if the volume's okay.
Okay, I won't leave that in.
Okay. Also, I didn't get a chance to tell you about my trips to the Mourne Mountains. I didn't get a chance to tell you. I've been twice to your wonderful hills for British Championship fell races.
Over Donard.
Yeah, both times I have seen absolutely zero. It's always been in like Clag, nearly down to Newcastle. We did one race, I think it was 3 years ago we came over, and they bussed us out to a dam. It was Spegler Dam or
Spelga Dam.
Yeah. So they bussed us out there to it. So it was a linear point-to-point race, and we started there and finished in Newcastle. And basically we got off this bus at the dam, and you couldn't even see your mate 5 meters in front of you. And we're also on the start line with like maps out, and we're all from the Lake District or from elsewhere in England, and we're like, where are we going? What are we going to do? And so we all set off into the mist, and people just started dispersing all over the place. And what happened was we all eventually made it to this summit checkpoint, which was on the Mourne Wall. And literally the plan just said, if you can get to the wall, just follow the wall back to Newcastle. So that was it. So literally everyone we just ran alongside this wall until we got to like the last checkpoint where we had to drop down into Newcastle. But we were still in thick clag. And from that last checkpoint, people literally went everywhere. And I went from, I was running with Jasmine Paris, and we were in the I think we were in like the 60s positions, 60 to 70. Crossed the finish line in Newcastle in about 30th place. I made up about 30 to 40 places in the clag on the last descent. It's brilliant. And then we all went to O'Hare's, I think it's called, in Newcastle, and got incredibly drunk.
Bodil, do you know about the Mourne Wall? Have you heard about the Mourne Wall before? No. So
No,
we have a
Oh, it's
22-mile wall that goes over every summit. It goes over 14 mountaintops. It's about 10,000 feet of climbing, but it was made out of the granite from the mountains, obviously. And it's about 6 foot high and about 4 foot wide.
A big wall, then.
Oh, it's incredible.
22 miles round the Mournes. And it was built actually to keep the sheep out of the reservoir. So it was built over 100 years ago. And we didn't have a filtration system, obviously, for the water in the dam in the Mournes, which actually feeds, even feeds Belfast and places like that. Incredible when you see it. But we are so lucky because when that clag comes down, you just hit the wall. You can't get lost in the Mournes because of the wall, You just grab hold of the wall and just follow it, so.
My favourite bit of advice from the race organisers, or my favourite rule from the race organisers for that race was, when you get to the Mourne Wall, you're not allowed to get up and run along it, because apparently it's quicker to get up onto the top of the wall and run along the smooth top of this wall rather than running through all the heather and the bog.
But your head starts playing tricks with you if you do that, because you're, it's so narrow. The ground starts shifting if you start going along, when you start going along the wall. I'm a race director as well, so I've set up a lot of virtual races, obviously, with the COVID situation. That's a great idea, though, for 2022 is the Inov-8 Spelger Skyline race. Heard it here, folks. Listen, guys, thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. If you didn't get it, Terraultra G270s. Get it in the shop now. All right, guys, appreciate that.
Thank you. Cheers, Robbie. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Robbie.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.